Hey, what's going on, guys? So it's been a while since I've updated the Wasted Potential playlist on my channel, and for those of you who might be new, basically what I do with this series is I take a look at all the characters and concepts and lore and the various information that was given to us in the Naruto franchise, and I look at what was given to us and what was never expounded upon, and I make a determination whether or not the potential of that certain thing was wasted. And for this video, I want to focus on the Hyuga clan, and I think that every Naruto fan, if you ask them if they're being honest, would tell you that when it came to the Hyuga clan, they were absolutely the biggest tease in the Naruto franchise. And before I dive into why exactly that is, I want to address something that really popped up in a lot of comments on the last video, which was the wasted potential of the White Fang. Now, on that video, a lot of people were saying, if you really love Naruto, you shouldn't say anything bad about it. Why talk about a series if you're just gonna point out the bad things? If you're a true Naruto fan, you wouldn't make this video, and that's not necessarily the case. You can love a series and offer criticism of it, and I think that you're missing the fact that that criticism is coming from the fact that it's because I love this series so much that I'm reading it and I see things that could have made it a lot better than what it was. Like, Naruto's a really good series, but it's not flawless. There are a lot of retcons and there are a lot of drop subplots. And when it comes to the Hyuga clan, that falls into that category. So when you look at the Hyuga clan, when they were first introduced to us during the Chunin exams, when I tell you there was a lot of hype, there was a lot of hype around this clan, to have someone like Kakashi, who had the kekkei genkai of the Uchiha clan, and the Uchiha were being built up like crazy anyway. The fact that Kakashi with the sharingan is just doing all this amazing stuff, and then all of a sudden you find out that Kakashi's saying like, yeah, the Uchiha clan, they're pretty strong, but the Hyuga clan, well, they have a dojutsu that is supposed to be the evolution of the sharingan. It's supposed to be the most superior dojutsu, and I know over time that got changed, and all of a sudden it was, oh well, maybe the sharingan didn't come from the byakugan, and the sharingan got all these different power-ups that made it clearly more powerful than the byakugan. But the thing is when that statement was made, you looked at a character like Neji, who was the epitome of just complete badass. The way that he was talking down to Hinata and breaking down every movement and playing the psychological warfare while coming off like a bit of a prick at the same time. And then you saw a character like Hinata who overcame her own timidness, where she's doing the whole finger twiddling and stuttering and looking down and low self-esteem, just looking like she did not belong in the Chunin exams. And she found herself and was fighting against Neji, and you found out that when they're fighting, they're not just doing this beautiful dancing where they're slapping hands and the movement seems so intricate, but they're actually attacking each other's internal organs. They're attacking the chakra system in itself. And when that got said to us, it just took the whole concept of Naruto fighting to a different level, because you can build up your body, but you can't train your organs. And I remember when that information got revealed to us, it made me pop, because I saw the potential in just how overpowered that was. Because again, you can build up all of your body parts, but at the end of the day, you can't protect your organs. And it's kind of like, if you know anything about like technical fighting, you know, everybody gets caught up in the glitz and glam of all the boxing movies where like two guys standing mano a mano and just punching each other in the face, some real Chad moments. And yet when you look at some of the smarter fighters, they elude attacks and then they go for body shots and they just wear somebody down slowly over time. And it's because those body shots, because of what the body shots are triggering, it breaks you down over time. That's kind of how the Hyuga were fighting. And I saw just the level of intellect that came in that, the way that Neji and Hinata, despite Hinata's many shortcomings, they were fighting intellectually on a different level than what we've seen before. Like in the Land of Waves arc, you know, we saw like the on the spot strategy with Naruto and Sasuke with the demon windmill shuriken and how that like Naruto transformed into it and everything. We saw that. We saw Kakashi and Zabuza and how two high-level Jonin are just going at it, how the Sharingan is copying all of this ninjutsu. And in the tuning exams, all of a sudden the Uchiha clan just got brought back down a couple pegs when you find out that Neji just demolished Sasuke, and he's saying like, yeah, I'm not even the strongest person on my team. Neji Hyuga could probably beat you. And when you get that and then you see that fight, you're going, oh crap, Neji versus Sasuke is going to be really, really awesome. That was one of the fights like I really wanted to see when that was set up. And even characters like Tintin were kind of hyping it up, saying like, oh, I wonder who would win between Neji and Sasuke. Like, you had two prodigies and you had the two most respected clans potentially going at it. And yes, Naruto played spoiler, you know, that really fit into the whole narrative. But then during the Naruto fight, when you find out just the history behind the history behind the Hyuga clan, where you find out about the cursed seal and you find out about what happened with Neji's father and just how a lot of that was weighing down on Hinata's father, and how all of a sudden Neji realizes that he's been walking down the wrong path. He's been guided by the wrong things. Like, all of that is a story within itself. Like, all of that very easily could have been its own arc. In fact, I go a step further. All the lore that was set up with the Hyuga clan could have been its own damn series. It could have been its own series. That was enough to where it could have stood on its own. And that's one of the times where Kishimoto introduced something where he should have expounded on it more than what he did. But because Naruto is such a plot-driven story, it's not so much character-driven as plot-driven, but because Naruto is such a plot-driven story, he couldn't stay on that for as long as he probably would have liked to, because that would have completely wrecked the pacing to have a flashback at that point or to do an arc that focused on the Hyuga clan because of how everything was paced, because we were getting this build up in part one towards the eventual Naruto versus Sasuke clash, and then part two, maybe there would have been a little room for it, but once you got past the pain arc, there was really no room for that type of arc. And so when you look at all of this, and you look at the fact that in part two of the Naruto story, so from volume volume 28 onwards, because that's when the Naruto versus Sasuke stuff, I believe, ended. And so from volume 28 onwards, you had the Naruto Shippuden era. And after that, the Hyuga clan were essentially pushed to the background, like a lot of characters in part two of Shippuden. Don't get me wrong, like a lot of characters in the second part of Naruto were just shafted, and it became the Team 7 story, and then it went from the Team 7 story to the Naruto and Sasuke story to the, oh, look at this, we're gonna talk about the Uchiha clan more than we talked about the main characters clan. And when you look at all of that, the whole thing with the Hyuga, it becomes a huge slap in the face when you get to the war arc, and all of a sudden a character like Neji, who in the manga had not been relevant for 5 or 6 years, had not been relevant for a really long time, all of a sudden Neji's the one who sacrifices himself for Naruto. And then it gets revealed after the Naruto manga ended that Kishimoto's like, yeah, I've done a pretty bad job with these pairings so far. I really need to justify Naruto and Hinata getting together. I know, Neji, you played Cupid. And it's just like, wait a second, you're gonna have Neji sacrifice himself simply for the reason that he's gonna be the trigger that makes Naruto realize, like, man, Hinata really cares about me. What was the whole point of the whole pain arc then, where Hinata jumps in and says, I love you? Like, what was the point of that if you're gonna have Neji do it? Like, that's one of the things that's always kind of bugged me. Like, I really feel as if I was a slap in the face to the Hyuga clan at that point, because you had all this hype about them being the strongest in the Leaf Village, and yet they did absolutely nothing against Madara. They did nothing against Madara. That was something we should have seen the Hyuga clan actually have a decent fight, a decent showdown against arguably the two strongest Uchiha at that time, being Obito Uchiha and Madara Uchiha. We should have seen them do something. Like, imagine Madara, who was a taijutsu monster, an absolute taijutsu monster, fighting against the Hyuga clan, who have this ability to target your chakra system. Or imagine them fighting against Obito and he's using his Kamui ability. There was so much potential left on the table. Like, the Hyuga clan didn't do shit during the war. And I would have said the other word, but I gotta be careful because of YouTube's system. If you curse too much in the video, it's gonna push it further down to where it's not gonna go out to any potential viewers. So I'm kind of keeping this PG-13. But when you look at that, and then you look at the fact that since the Naruto story has ended, even with the guidebooks, the Naruto Data Book 4, and even with the data books before that, you didn't really get a lot of information about the clan. And I find that to be very, very disappointing because, again, there's so much that was left on the table there. And I think that was one of Kishimoto's problems, in that he introduced cast of characters with so much information that he couldn't possibly give all of them equal shine. And a great example of this would be with a character like Tenten, who she's an absolute joke. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sorry to any Tenten fans out there, but if you just look at how Kishimoto handled her character in the manga, she's a joke. But then you find out the whole reason why she became a space-time weapons specialist master, the whole reason why she did it. And I might cover that in a future video, but when you find out the whole reason why she even chose weapons, it makes sense on her placing in Team Guy. It makes sense into why she would choose something like that. And that could have been a really good filler arc that was introduced into the Naruto story, not Naruto Shippuden, but into the Naruto story when we're finding out about Team Guy. That could have been something that could have been done instead of us getting it through the Naruto New Era project. But getting back onto the topic, I really felt as if when you got the whole thing with Naruto the Last, when we were looking at the Toneri stuff, instead of having Toneri basically be the third cog in the love triangle that was supposed to be set up to be Naruto and Hinata's big coming out party where they get together and we find out what made Naruto finally fall in love with Hinata and acknowledge her feelings. Instead of having Toneri just basically be there for the sake of being the obstacle that prevents Naruto from getting the girl that he wants, which was an absolute waste of that character. And that's a whole nother video in itself. But instead of that, when you got like the teases about the Byakugan princess, we should have got more of that lore in the movie, and it's a crying shame. And then when you get into the Naruto the Last novelization, which I'll start covering some of the stuff from the novelization on future videos. I'm actually working on a few of those because the novelization for Naruto the Last is a lot better than the movie because it fleshes out so much of the stuff that was left on the table in the movie. And one of the things that it does is it completely breaks down the relationship between Kaguya's clan and the Hyuga clan. It breaks it down, and you find out little small things like the fact that Toneri's father had been keeping an eye on the Hyuga clan, and you find out that Toneri didn't just go down there to randomly target Hanabi's eyes. Like, that was something that was set up for several years. Even then, like, when you take all that into consideration, the fact that that was planned out, that Toneri approaching Hinata was something that was kind of playing out, even then, just taking a look at Hinata's character, I feel like there was so much more that could have been done with Hinata Hyuga's character. And like, one perfect example of this would be, you had the whole system set up where you find out that once a team under a Jonin becomes Chunin, they're essentially on the same rank. Yeah, the Jonin is of a higher rank officially, but at the same time, they're all team leaders. They can all go lead their own teams. And at that point, you don't necessarily need all of them to be on the same team together. And when part two happened, right? I remember when the chapter came out where Naruto is trying to recruit people, and one of the people he approached was Hinata. I'm not the biggest Hinata fan. You can probably tell because I throw a few jabs at her in my videos. I kind of sneak them in there. And because this is an opinion video, I don't mind telling you that. I'm not the biggest Hinata fan, but when those chapters came out, I was actually excited because I thought, okay, you know what? I don't really like her character, but this would be a great opportunity to actually build on it if she joined Team 7. And I was like, symbolically, it made a bunch of sense. You know, they lost the dojutsu user. Hinata has the byakugan. She's got a crush on Naruto. Oh, okay, so if they're gonna go the Naruto and Hinata thing, they can build this up and we can find out more about the Hyuga, because she'd actually be in the Naruto centerpiece, like in Team 7. And at that point in the story, you knew damn well that everything was gonna be Team 7 centered and that the rest of the Konoha 11 are gonna be pushed to the background. That much became clear at that point. And I thought, okay, you know, Kishimoto, you know, has a bunch of mythology, and when you look at the Hyuga clan, there's some mythology behind it. This would be pretty cool. And then all of a sudden we get the character of Sai. And I just feel like Sai. I sigh at the thought of Sai. I don't really like the fact that we got a brand new character introduced and you had a character like Hinata who was right there. And it will be really cool to actually see someone who Naruto inspired without him even realizing it, grow alongside of him. And I'm not talking romantically and everything. I don't really care for the Naruto pairings, but I feel like watching Hinata grow as a ninja as Naruto continues down his path of Hokage could have been something that could have did justice to the Hyuga clan. Like if you look at that, Hinata in part 2, this is basically her arc in the manga, and this is why it's such a disappointment, because as someone who essentially had the hopes of the Hyuga clan resting on her shoulders, in my opinion, and I know Neji is very popular, but I feel like Hinata was the one who had the future of the Hyuga clan on her shoulders. And so in part 2, she meets Naruto, she faints, like, oh, Naruto-kun, and then she faints. And then she joins back up for the Itachi Pursuit arc, and she's watching Naruto fight Tobi, and she's like, Naruto-kun, hold on, let me help. And Sakura has to tell, like, look, Naruto's strong, he can handle this, trust in him. And then less than 100 chapters later, she's like, Naruto-kun, I know you said stay away, but I have to go help. And then in one panel, Pain does almighty push and shoves his black rod inside of her. And then after that, we don't see her again until the war arc. And she's like, I'm gonna stand beside you, Naruto. It's just like her whole arc was Naruto centric. Despite all the dynamics of the Hyuga clan, despite all the ins and outs of that clan that were set up in part 1, with the whole caged bird, and with her now growing as a ninja and growing in notoriety, and the fact that there was some disconnect between her and her father, and it was never expounded upon. Like, her relationship with Neji was never expounded upon. That's such a disappointment, man. That's such a disappointment. I feel like the narrative arc of the Hyuga clan could have been handled so much better, but those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys think. How do you personally feel the Hyuga clan should have been done? Or do you disagree with me? And do you think that the Hyuga clan story was handled perfectly? I really want to know your opinion if you fall in that category. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching all the way into the end. Have an awesome day, guys.